Now you mentioned the acidity, and now I know people that have went out and they're looking for rocks for their garden, and they'll pour vinegar on the rocks and see if there is a reaction. Is that something that you would tell people to do when they're searching for rocks? Like I live in the middle of, well, not the middle of Canada, but not close to the ocean, and my rocks here are going to be different from someone that is on the coast. Is that something you would recommend? Is doing like an acid wash with the vinegar?
Well, it can't hurt because generally what's going to react is the calcium, right? That's going to be in your limestones. So if you're in an area like Tennessee or Nebraska or some of these other places, Virginia, that do have a lot of limestone, then that would be a very good idea to protect yourself from really screwing your pH up. Because again, you don't want to pull this apart. So
Yeah.
An extra step is encouraged by all means. If you're living in a more mountainous or volcanic area, then you have less of a concern for having a limestone in the mix, especially if you're going to a riverbed. Remember those rocks. Think of them as the knot in a tree, right? Whenever you split a wood and you hit a knot, man, or cut a board and you hit that knot and the blade starts smoking and screaming. That's because
Yep.
the knot is the hardest part of that wood. Well, those rocks are the knots of the bigger rock. So again, that's why when Shango was struggling and breaking his rocks up was because he was breaking knots up.
Well,
So
and that's a good point, is the size of the rocks, because like he was breaking them up to make them a smaller size. So what's a good size, would you say, for that, E horizon, for
well,
those
again,
rocks?
the E horizon is based on a unit of measurement called 124. So
Okay.
the depth is if you're 24 inches, right? Uh, one part of 7 divided by 20, call it 28. 7 divided by 28 is 3, correct? No.
Don't ask me to do math live on air, Leighton. Come on.
Anyway, so if your E horizon, typically most people use 18-inch pots, right? And so, or let's call them 21. Uh, your E horizon would be 3 inches, right? Because that's 7 divided by 21 is 3 inches. Your A horizon is going to be 2 parts. So that means it's going to be 6 inches deep, right?
Mhm.
And your O horizon is going to be 4 parts. So 4 times 3 is 12. And that will round out to 21 inches deep,
Okay, so
right?
that was 264?
No, 1, 2, 4.
124. Okay.
So whatever your depth of your pot is divided by 7, and the E horizon is 1 part, the A horizon is 2 parts, and the O horizon is 4 parts.
Okay. And
Whatever.
you have to think about your base, your tray or whatever you built
Yep.
your base out of, to make sure that you're keeping that E horizon at the right level in your pot as well, or your water tray.
Again, if you go with a taller tray, you can just drill holes at that right level. Or if you use rubber, you can kind of fold it down at certain points so that it's at that correct level. Um, so all these things need to be taken into consideration when you're building it. And again, the biggest piece is level, right? Because so many people are nothing's really perfectly level, right? Unless you're on a marble floor. So again, the way you compensate for that is you have a taller tray and you level your sand so that your beginning part, your 1 part, is the lowest point, right, or
Mhm.
the highest point. And then you're using the sand to fill in the low parts so that sand becomes perfectly level. And now your tray could be 6, 8 inches tall. It doesn't matter. You just got to drill that hole quarter inch to half inch below the height of the level sand at any one place.
And that makes a lot of sense, because you'd never want that water to come up into the next horizon, to make it anaerobic. So that makes it a lot simpler for people, because people are going to use different materials. They're going to build them in different ways, whether it's out of concrete as the base, and to know that they have to stay that particular level down, so they never have a problem